Title of the first section today is Subtracting Integers. And again, integers are any positive or negative numbers, but do not include decimals or fractions. We'll start today again by doing number tiles with the red and black colors. First number we'll take is -3. And again, -3 will represent by 3 -1 tiles. And from that we'll subtract +2 or 2 +1 tiles. So we have -3 minus +2. When subtracting integers, the subtract goes to each of these. The minus goes to the first number 1 and also to the second number 1. So what happens is if we're minusing 1, this +1 will change into a -1. Same thing with the second tile. If we're subtracting 1, that 1 will change to a -1, and these positive ones will cancel out because we switched them. So now we're left with 3 -1 tiles, and we have 2 -1 tiles. If they're both the same, we can add those. There's 5 -1s altogether, which would be -5. Second question, and last question for this section. We'll start with +2, which would be 2 number 1 tiles. And from that we'll subtract a -1 tile. Again, when we're subtracting, this minus sign goes to the tile. When you subtract a negative number, the minus will change to a positive, so we'll be left with a +1 tile. And this will equal, we have 2 and 1 extra 1 tile, which would be +3. Title of the last section of notes today is More. Subtracting Integers. Couple definitions for this section, which are similar to the ones we did yesterday. Same signs. You add and keep the sign. Second definition, different signs. You subtract. And keep the sign. Of the larger number. And the last definition that we'll need to know for this section is minus is plus. That is, when we have 2 subtractions next to each other, minus, we'll change that to 2 additions, plus. The first 2 rules are the same as when we add the integers from the previous section. If they have the same signs, we'll add. If they have different signs, we'll subtract. First problem we'll look at, in parentheses, is -5 minus 3. In this question, the 5 is considered negative, and since the 3 has a minus sign in front of that, we'll consider the 3 to be a negative number. So we have a negative 5 and a negative 3. Both signs are the same. So again, if we have these same signs, we'll add and keep the sign. 5 plus 3 would be 8. And the same signs, we'll keep the sign. So it'll be negative 8. Negative 5 minus 3 is negative 8. Second question. Negative 7 minus 4. Again, looking at these numbers, the 7 we'll think is negative, the 4 we'll think of as negative. So both numbers are negative in front. So again, if we have the same sign, we'll add and keep the sign. 7 plus 4 would be 11, and we'll keep the negative on there. So negative 7 minus 4 would be negative 11. Third question we'll look at. 7 minus, and then parentheses, negative 2. In this case, we have two minus signs with no number between them. There is a parentheses, which is okay, but if you don't have a number between the minus signs, that's where we'll use a definition, minus minus is plus plus. If you have two minuses side by side, we can change each of those to addition, and now the problem would be 7 plus 2. 7 plus 2 would be 9. Next question for the section. We have 4 minus 8. This question we have a positive 4, and the 8 we'll think of as a negative 8. So a positive 4 and a negative 8 are different signs. Back at the definitions, when we have different signs, we'll subtract the numbers and keep the sign of the larger number. When you subtract, just subtract the bigger number minus the smaller number. So 8 minus 4 would be 4. And to determine if it's positive or negative, you look at the bigger number without the positive or negative signs. 8's bigger, and the sign in front of that negative tells us our answer is negative. Next question we'll look at. Negative 15 minus, in parentheses, negative 4. Again, on this question, we have two minuses with no number between them. When we have minus minus, we can change that to plus plus. So the problem will change to negative 15 plus 4. We have a negative 15 and a positive 4. Different signs. Anytime we have different signs, we'll subtract. 15 minus 4 would be 11. And always remember, look at your bigger number. In this case, 15 is the bigger number. The sign in front, negative, goes with the answer. Negative 11. And last question for the section. 6 minus 12. In this case, we have a positive 6 and a negative 12. Different signs again, so we'll subtract. You can always subtract the bigger number from the smaller number. 12 minus 6 would be 6. And you look at the bigger number between 6 and 12. 12 is bigger. Since 12 is negative, we'll keep the negative sign, negative 6.